Okay, there we go. That's better. I meant to go to just this one, and now this is messed up. Okay, there we go. Maybe I should like test this out before I start streaming. Also, I think I started streaming when the stream was still behind, and so maybe you saw my face just playing around with stuff before the coding with Ken. I don't know how this stream stuff works. That's why I have the intro, by the way, is because I don't know exactly when things start. Kind of annoying. But anyway, I'm here. Hi. And thank you for joining me. I'm going to be doing some refactorings and stuff on my bookshelf app, which is like my Build a React App workshop material. And so, yeah, it should be fun. And yeah, just moving some things around here because I didn't prepare well enough. So, okay, here we go. Now I'm in the bottom corner. Hello. And okay, 1 second. Okay, cool. Just somebody responded to me with an async communication, like right when I started this, and I wanted to get some async communication back to them. React Query is a library that other guy made. The white guy with curly hair. Yeah, that's his name's Tanner Lindsley, and he's great. And yes, that is the React Query that you're talking about. So, yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna get this thing booted up. It's gonna probably pop up over here, and I'm gonna want to bring it over this way. Whoop. So here's the bookshelf. One interesting thing about the bookshelf is that you can access it yourself. So if you want to play around with the React bookshelf, then by all means, feel free. I'll send you a link. And you can register for an account. It does not require an email address, just a username and password. And my goodness, there we go. And you can just put anything in here because it's actually all stored in local storage. Like the entire database is local storage. I hijacked window.fetch. And the reason I did that was so that I wouldn't have any trouble when like people are going through the app. They don't need to have it running locally. They can just run it in Code Sandbox. And they don't need to have like, and I know that you can run a server in Code Sandbox. I know this, but yeah, I just wanted to be able to use the regular React template. I am thinking about switching to like a JSON server type thing so that you can have like actual network requests. I think I'm going to need to do that. But for now, we're just going to stick with this. Yeah, so there's no server attached to this. So you just register with something, it registers with it in your local storage. But yeah, so what we're going to be working on here is React Query. So I did a bit of React Query work on a previous live stream. What's up, Swix? And I'm going to be just doing some additional stuff here because originally, before I had React Query, I had the list item context. And list item context had this list item reducer where we have add, remove, update. This is basically, like, if you think about it, this is basically implementing your server-side logic in your front end. And so, like, we're adding and removing and updating the action item or the list items that we have here, but we're also doing that on our back end, and that like actually doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do that. And if you could avoid doing that, then that would be great. And so that's one of the things that React Query can help us with is we just say, hey, React Query, I'm going to make this update. React Query, like you make the request, React Query gets that data back, and it just updates the data in the cache. So React Query does this. What up, Tanner? So you can tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. So great. Yeah, let's get rid of this list item context here. So the first thing that I need to do is I'm going to come to this rating. So here, we're going to register. I think, I'm pretty sure I don't have any users in this app right now. I think I deleted everything. Yeah. Future tacos, false. Raise your hand if you know what that's all about. Okay, so we're going to register with username and password. And no, one password I don't need. Cannot create a new user with the user. Wait, what? Did I? Sounds like we got a bug. Yeah. Huh. Okay, we'll have to look at that later. Uncaught promise. Oh, yeah, okay. Huh. So it should have automatically redirected me. You know what? I think I broke something when I was on a call with Tanner a little bit ago, doing this prefetch query stuff. So we may as well figure out what this is. So I can't back up to what it was before. I did have Git going on, but yeah, there it is. So it's just get user and read for user, and I just figured out what's wrong. I'm calling read for user when I should be just passing read for user, and but I need to pass a user ID, so I'm going to pass a function like that. There we go. See if that works. It works. Beautiful. Okay, so I got a couple questions here. Let me just jump in. The one and only Tanner Lindsley. Nice. Is this suspense related? I haven't seen enough real world examples of suspense yet. Well, there's a reason for that. And that is that suspense isn't okay, suspense, concurrent mode, two different things. Suspense, you're not talking about real world examples of suspense because that's been around forever. You're talking about real world examples of suspense for data fetching, which requires concurrent mode to be turned on, and concurrent mode is currently experimental, so nobody should be shipping it, except for Facebook, I guess. And so, yeah, that's the reason you haven't seen real-world examples of that. If you want to learn about it, then you can go to... What? I don't have a short URL for that? Ooh, it's been updated. Okay, in that case, let's go to... the egghead suspense. That's probably what it is. So we'll just paste that in there. There it is. So you can learn about that. It's about as real world as you can get because it's not actually real world. Nobody's doing real world stuff with suspense. And I'm not going to be doing that here either. Eventually, I do plan on adding suspense to this and experimenting with it in here, but not today. The feeling when I wake up in the middle of the night and see Ken is broadcasting live. Jan, you should go to bed and watch this later. Just kidding. You can do what you want. But I didn't sleep well last night. I stayed up too late watching a stupid movie. I should not have done that and should have just gone straight to sleep. That time Kent streamed all his passwords live. I have definitely been known to reveal passwords on my live stream in the past. Yes, this is true. Had to really quickly fix and reset all my passwords. Okay. Let me just check something really quick. Okay. Now we're back. Here we go. So, yeah, this is what we've got going on. Hey, thanks, Drew. I'm glad that you purchased testingjavascript.com. I think you'll love it. Okay, so here's what I changed to, and I'll explain why I did this. You can't actually see this, so here, hold on a second. Let me just whoop. Hey, you see that right there? Okay, so this is what I changed. We have, before I had get user. Oh, okay, let me back up. When the user first lands on the page, the very first thing that happens is we call this bootstrap app data, which will call this get user function from the auth client, get user. And the get user function is going to check for a token. The token is going to be stored in local storage. So it's going to look for that token. And if there's no token, then we'll just resolve with null because the user's not logged in. If there is a token, then we're going to make a request to /me to get the currently logged in user. And if there's an error, then we'll call the logout function, which just removes the local storage token and then returns a resolved promise. And it occurs to me that I'm not doing anything with that. Just fire and forget, I guess. But then we propagate the error, so I guess that makes more sense. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, so we get the user's information if they're logged in. And so that's what it was before. Now we're prefetching, but I'll explain more about that later. So if there is no data from that request, so a return null, the user's not logged in or something, then we're going to just return user is null and list items is empty. The list items being when I add an item to my reading list, now I have a list item for the Lord of the Rings book, and I can add a rating. That's a bug. There we go. Oh, that's right. I made, hold on a second. Close your eyes. This might be confusing. Just get rid of that. There we go. Okay. And then you can add notes are great. And it also has a start date. And if you complete it, then it'll have a completed date and you can remove it and mark it as incomplete. So yeah, that's what those list items are. So when the user first lands on the page, we go and get the user's info, and then we get the list items. Presumably, you would have like a single endpoint that just like gets all of the data that the user needs. If you have like lots of different endpoints you have to hit when the user first lands on the page. Or like you could be using GraphQL and just like a single GraphQL query. But in any case, you're probably going to want to just go and get all of the data that your app needs if you're not server rendering, and like just stick that data in the contents of what you're server rendering. So you could do that too. But if you're not server rendering, then this is a good approach for this. So yeah, then we return the user and the list items. And this function is going to be called by our auth context, which grabs that Bootstrap app data, and yeah, it just shows a full page spinner while it's loading. If there's an error, it'll render that, and then it renders the auth context provider, and yeah, and that's what that does. So my question to Tanner earlier was, hey, I'm getting the list item here, but what if I wanted, and that list item is coming from the books screen, or the book screen. So here we go, we're on the book screen, and we get a list item from our store, which is hanging out in the list item context here. So if I want to get rid of this list item context stuff and just use React Query to manage the list item data, then here, let me move myself back over. Then, hold on a sec. I just realized that this isn't centered. Like, part of the screen is cut off. Fit to screen. What? And now I'm getting a Slack call from someone. What is going on? All right, I'll be right back. Right, so that was just an old friend who was testing Slack calls. So there's that. I don't know why he's testing it again. I gotta tell him to stop, please. Okay. Good friend. Jeff, if you're watching this right now, I just sent him a link saying that I'm live streaming right now. So yeah. Anyway, getting back to this, I'm not sure why my screen is all messed up. But I can't fix it now. So I want to get rid of this list context, this list item context, because I want to, yeah, just want to use the React query cache instead, because I think that'll drastically simplify the whole situation. And so on this book page, instead of use single list item state, which I actually probably could continue to do that, I want to use React query to get those list item or to pull the list item from React query. So here we're using this use query that's hitting the book endpoint. Let's see, or using this get book thing. And that's basically what I want to do here to get the list item for that book ID. And I'm pretty sure that doing that should be pretty straightforward. And so the reason that in the Bootstrap that I made this change right here to use prefetch query is so that I could preload this data into the cache, so that when I come over here and say, hey, let's use query for the books, or well, not the books. The books are like I do a search and I get the book information. But when I do this for the list items, then I'm gonna get those. So one thing that occurs to me now is that when I get list items, and I also get books for those list items. Here, let's see, list item dot book. Here on the list item list, I render a book row with the list item book. Fine. That's fine. Okay. Anyway, we're good. Have I tried Svelte's SWR? And if so, did I like it? So I have not tried it, but I have definitely looked at it, and it looks really interesting. I like it. I think it's great, and if you want to use it, then go for it. When I looked at it and compared it to React Query, I kind of liked React Query better, so that's why I'm using React Query. But anyway, feel like there was something else I was going to say, but it's gone now. So let's move ahead. Let's move on, move forward and upward in a good direction. Okay, it's bothering me that this is not, my screen isn't, like, you're not seeing the bottom of it. I guess it doesn't matter. No. Okay. So now that we've got the stuff pre-fetched, let's go ahead and come here to our book screen. We're going to use single list item state. And yeah, I guess like right now, my whole app assumes that you have access to all of the list items synchronously. And if we were to, yeah, here, if we have list item, and then we've got to have somewhere in here where, yeah, we check if one exists. So if we're on a book page and we remove the list item, then yeah, then we're not going to render the stuff that we don't want to render. Isn't there the rating? Rating is rendered in here too. List item time frame. Yeah, there we go. That's put into the rating. That probably shouldn't go there. Honestly, this should probably, let's just fix this right off. This is the time frame thing, not the rating stuff. In fact, this right here, go right there. Boom. Thank you, Prettier. Boy, what would I do without Prettier? I don't know. How awful. What a sad existence to not have Prettier. Okay, I'm kind of thinking maybe we want to keep this div hanging around. So there may be that extra space, but at least things don't jump around when you add it and remove it. There, if we remove and add, the stuff doesn't jump around. So I like that extra space. It's fine. Very good. Okay. But now the rating is not part of the list item time frame thing, which it shouldn't be. So we're good. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and pull the list item from the query, and then maybe I can make a custom hook and just keep using that that thing. So we're gonna say use query list item, item. And then here, oh, that's going to need to be an array. So that's the key and happens to also be the path. And we want the list item ID, don't we? Or wait, we want it by the book ID. Yeah. Okay, cool. Gonna give me my list item. Oh. I think actually what I'm gonna do is we'll just destructure this. That was like refactoring stuff. Okay, and then we'll do a similar thing here. Except this will be our list item. And got an error here. Let's call this our book error. And this is going to be our list item error. Boy, sure wish I was using error boundaries for this. Okay, we'll work through that later. There we go. Boy, that's garbage, but that's okay. We'll fix that later. I'm misspelling something. Oh no, we've got that there. Okay, cool. Book error. Okay. So I don't think this is gonna work right off because we need to pass the function to handle this. So I have a function get list item and book ID return. We're gonna want the list item client. So where's our book client? List items client. This should be our books client. Okay. I sometimes don't destructure query info if there are multiple queries in a single scope. That would make sense because otherwise you have to do this aliasing like what we're doing. Thank heaven that use state gave us an array, right? Because otherwise we'd be aliasing like nobody's business. Now use query I think is good to return an object and not an array because then you'd have like, there are a lot of things that object has, but use state, only 2 elements, thank you. And typically you're probably not using multiple use queries in a single thing. In fact, you know what I probably should do is I should make a use query. Okay, so I had an idea. I don't think it's a good idea, but maybe Tanner, you can tell me. But I could make a single use query that is like, give me the book and its list item if it has one. But then like, if this is the ID for the resource, then I wouldn't benefit from having already gotten the book and a list item that's not associated with it. But yeah, anyway. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get list item right here. And we're going to say list items client dot the read for user. Is that maybe that the one? Kind of doubt it, but let's find it. Book ID, read for user. Okay, so let me figure out how this, yeah, so here we just, a list item is, a list item is the object that's represented by the user having a book added to their reading list. So this is a list item. This is our book page. And because we have a list item for this book, we get to see the start date, the rating, the mark is red option, remove from list, and the notes. We remove it from the list, that deletes the list item, and now all we have is a book. And then we can add it, and now we have a list item for this book, which gives us those options. So here with this use single list item, we get the use list item that gets us all of the list items in the app. And so we can make that assumption that we just have all of the list items. Now, Tanner earlier was showing me in his app, he has this teams and he has a team resource. And today, if he wants, he loads all of the teams and then he loads an individual team. And I'm going to start out by doing the same thing. So we'll load that individual list item by itself. And then we'll think about maybe pulling the list item from the list items part of the cache. So yeah, we'll see what we're going to do there. So given that, we're going to add to our client the ability to read a list item for a user by the book ID. So read by book ID. Book ID. We're going to return a client to hit the list item and book ID. There we go. Sweet. Read by book ID. And I think that this will actually, I'm pretty sure my backend supports this right now, so we'll see. So then we're going to come back over here, read by book ID, and yep, I think that'll work. Let's find out. We're getting that is upset, so get rid of that. Okay, and we get an error, connection refused, because I don't support that. So I'm going to show you my hack fetch thing. So check this out. Right down here, I say window.fetch equals a hacked version of fetch. Oh my goodness. This is in my hacks directory. So no peeking, no looking. This is all fake, made up. But each one of these objects in our fake responses has a test. And that allows me to test whether the request that is attempting to be made is one that we handle. And at the very end here, we have a fallback that will just call the original fetch with the original args. So that is what is happening, is we're making an actual call to try and get that list item. And that is failing because we don't actually have a server listening on that port. So what we need to do is list item get. We have list item IDs, owner ID, and we just basically need to duplicate this one to have one for the book ID. Book ID, get a list item by it. Okay, we need to template literal this guy. One of these days, I'll probably just learn that you template literal everything. Get a list item by its book ID. Okay, so what this is API thing is a premature abstraction, I think. But basically, it's what's the endpoint, what's the method, and what's the query param that you want to match. So yeah, that's what that is. So if it's at this endpoint and it's this HTTP method and it has this query parameter, then I want you to handle that request. So then we have our URL and the config. So this is the window.fetch call. And we're going to get the owner ID. Nope, we want the book ID. And we're going to get the user from the config. So get user from that config just takes the token and yeah, it deserializes the token. So remember, this is our backend. So yeah, it's kind of fancy. I'm just joking. It's not fancy. It's kind of a mess. But you know what just occurred to me? When I'm live streaming, I want to have the source control management diff decorations. I want to have those on. That can help me. Okay. Cool. So we get our book ID, and what we're looking for now, actually, our list items database, I think, has support. Oh, whoa. Read by owner. Nope. What's this hash thing do? What am I? Oh, that's the ID. Nice. Okay, well, we're going to need a function read by book ID. And owner. So we'll get a user ID and a book ID. And what this is going to do is we'll simply return that where the owner ID is the user ID and the LI, the list item ID, is the same, or list item book ID is the same as book ID. That's what it's called, right? When we create a book ID. Yep, it is. Very good. Here's a quick tip for you. So if you've like navigated away and you're like, take me back to the place where my cursor was recently, then do undo and then redo, and you'll like focus to right where the last place was. It's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna read by. I seem tired for coding. I am tired actually. Yeah. I probably should be more spunky. But yeah, okay, so now our database supports this, so we're going to say that. User ID and book ID. And then list item and book. And we'll take this thing right here. Here we go. Sweet. Yeah, okay. So we've got our list item and our book, and that's what we're going to send back as the list item. Sweet. So now we're going to handle that request so we won't get that failure. And it works like magic. Marvelous. But here's the kicker. We start out, we hit this endpoint, API me, and that gets us literally all the data that we need. If we look at that, our response, JSON, oh, it's just, actually, no, it's just the user. That's right, because we do mix it up. So after that, then we go get the all of the list items for that user, which is just the one. And then when we hit this page, we get the list item for this book ID, which, as it happens, is the exact same list item. And it looks like book is undefined, so that's interesting. Yeah, that's wrong. What's wrong with that? Debugger. Save that. Refresh, and boom, here we are. I just got a text. Hold on a second. It is from my wife. Oh, that's right. Okay. Boy, the day goes by fast. Sorry, here, actually, you'll be interested in this. As I was checking my text, I noticed I had an email from somebody who'd asked me to look at their Stack Overflow question. And they updated their question, and I know the answer to their question, and so I'm just going to get it for them really quick. Babel macros again. Yes. So there's this project I have called Babel plugin macros. Raise your hand if you use it. Me, it's great. And if we look at other docs, user.macro, or actually, let's do author.macro. File name, here we go. So the problem is our macro does not match the required convention. Here. See this as an answer. The problem is the import statement does not match, or the macro does not match the convention for Babel plugin macros. Bagel to transform the code and call them. Learn more from the talks. You'll need to change the file name to end in .macro or import the make my macro. Good luck. Here we go. Answered. 660,000 projects use it, and you're asking us to raise our hands? Raise them all. Well, so it's built into Create React App, and I think it's built into Gatsby. So that's kind of why, but not everybody who uses it actually use it directly. So, yeah, somebody's asking me to do a stream on tackling queries like controllers in Express.js and type ORM. I don't know what type ORM is, but I do know what Express is, and maybe I could do a live stream on Express. It's been a while since I've actually built something real in Express, but I could tell you some things that I know about Express. Okay, so we've got our book was undefined. So all books, why is that all books? What? Huh. Weird. Oh, that's what I want. Thank you, Webpack. Data books find book.id our list item book key. Okay, list item book. Oh, I know what's going on. Our list item, so this read book ID and owner is returning an array. Should not be. So grab that first one, refresh this sucker, and let's get rid of that debugger because this is gonna work. Refresh. Something's going on. All right, something's still busted. There we go. All right, here we are. We're back. Sweet glory. No list time with ID of undefined. Oh, we gotta figure that out. Sweet. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's figure that thing out then. But we can load it, so that's good. Let's come back here to our book page now. We get our list item. That's great. And then do the notes text area first. Okay, so we don't want to update the list item dispatch or use this mutation function anymore. Yeah, I gotta learn how this use mutation thing works when you're using the React query. Okay, React query. Let me come back over here. My wife texted me back. Okay, cool. I got 15 minutes. Then I gotta hightail it back upstairs. Okay. So we're at React query. We're use mutation. Oh, here we go. Refetch queries. I think that's an array of update query. Yeah. That's exactly what I want to do. Thank you, Tanner. I want to update the cache. So here we've got our use mutation. We want our mutate. We're going to debounce this function. But I want to call mutate with some specific arguments. Right? Mutate with the variables. Or debounce to mutate. Here we go. We'll just call this. And then we're going to pass update query. Sweet. Update query. And the query I want to update is one that is list item by the book ID. Yep. That's the one. That's the query key. Yep. I think that should do it. But instead of update list item here with the dispatch and whatnot, we're going to call what update list item is calling, which is list item client.update, the list item ID, and updates. So coming back here, that updates, just gonna be the notes and list item ID. Okay, cool. We can get rid of the dispatch. List item client, list items client, I think is what I called it. Okay. I think that should do it. Let's save that and see if we can update some notes. Pop up our dev tools here. I normally have this on the right. I was recording some videos where I had it on the left. Okay. Stuff. Year one. Where is that? Okay. Find here one. What? I think I've got some sort of funky thing going on with. Now my computer is like, I can't process. All right, well, this still failed. Let's find out. Oh, no, my dev tools are toast. We're glad that Chrome sandboxes these things. Okay, well, we'll just ignore that. Sweet. All right, so the put failed. Let's take a look at the request made to undefined. That is what. Okay, so when we make this debounce mutate call, with that, and the mutate. Oh, wait, that's not gonna work. Mutate should be called with the variables. Okay, so this is going to be notes. And then we've got our options. Okay, so mutate, our mutate thing. I guess it, yeah, works either way. It's no big deal. Okay. List item.id. So that's what's going on here. Huh. Getting just a bunch of undefines. What's going on there? List item. Oh, list item is an object that has a list item property. But that's not what we want. Right here in our list item client, oh yeah, we'll say then data dot list item. There we go. That'll solve it. Sweet. Beautiful. So great. Most excellent. Okay. So one thing, these here things are bothering me, and I remember putting these in as like conditional breakpoints, and I think that something's messed up with Chrome, and those conditional breakpoints are still getting hit. Something, I don't know, but it's really annoying. So what I'm going to try and do, go to application and quick storage. We're going to clear site data. We're going to refresh. We're going to have to register. Check this out. The URL does not change. I don't get like redirected to a login screen. I just render the login screen. Leave them there. Who cares? I don't need to redirect them. And then we can, actually we can't log in because I cleared out local storage. So there goes the database. So we're going to say ABC there. And I'm not getting redirected. So that's a bug I got to fix, but I'll refresh and here we go. So then we can add this to our reading list, and there we go. I need to, after it's added to the reading list, I need to make sure to go and request this list item, which got our status buttons. That's the bug. Oh yeah, so when that'll happen automatically when we go to our status buttons, and instead of using these things, we're going to use the query stuff. So I think I'm going to have to stop here. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop here. But Tanner, if you're still watching, the big question for me that I have about this is I've got, oh yeah, Tanner, what's up? Yeah, where's my question? Okay, so my question here is I want to be able to get a list item by its book ID over here, but then on the status buttons component right here, this is going to be making some requests to create a new list item, add a new list item. I guess I could make them all by their book ID, and that would be part of the key. But what if I didn't want to do that? Like, especially for updating list item, I don't need to provide the book ID for me to make that request. And so if I were to do this here, I'd say mutate, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that I have to include the book ID when I say mutate. And then here's my variables, and then my options update query is list item, and then book ID item.book. Or I guess in this case it'd be book.id. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't feel straightforward to me to have to specify the book ID here. And I'd always have to remember, okay, so if you're going to update the list item, you have to specify the book ID, because on the book page, that's all we have is the book ID. And so we have to get the list item by the book ID. I don't know. I'll have to keep on playing with this and figure out what makes the most sense. But anyway, I know what I'm going to be doing next. And so that's always a good sign. Next time I come around here, I want that to be on a single line. There you go. But I can get that note to update. So that's cool. Yeah, plenty of stuff to do still, but I got to get running. Thanks for hanging out with me on the stream. You can make the query key whatever you want to manage your cache, but still use your extra variables in your query function. Yeah, I know that. I guess I'm looking forward to your next version that exposes more of the cache functionality, because I think I'm gonna need some of that for some of the optimizations that I want to make here, and maybe even some of the API customizations that I think I'm gonna want to make. Like I'm probably gonna make a custom hook that's like use list item mutation, so I won't have to provide the book ID if I don't need to, and it just has the book ID as part of the key. And yeah, so we'll see what I end up doing once we have stuff that's actually working and stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and make a branch here because I've got some work that I want to keep around. So we're gonna make a branch. It's a work in progress React query. Gonna add all this stuff and commit it like work in progress query. Yeah, I'm not very. Oh, and you know what? I don't need this. Yeah, because it's probably gonna fail. I've got a couple. We'll just let that be. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, peace out. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later. Bye.